Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar in collaboration with two parties this time, which is really fantastic, and that is with the University of Oklahoma, the MBA in Energy program team, and also Lean in Energy. And I'd really like to welcome you today. So thank you for being here. The various people that you see on screen will be introducing themselves at various times. We want to really make sure that we work through this as quickly as possible. Many of you might know me from previous events on that we run through Lean in Network Energy, but I really wanted to just quickly mention what we're about and why we're doing this. One of the really critical things that has occurred in the last couple of years, as everyone knows, everyone's sick of probably hearing about it, is the pandemic. What we also know is that the pandemic has really impacted adversely women over men in terms of their careers, and especially in the energy industry. So what we really want to talk about today is utilising the services of the University of Oklahoma team, and particularly Rita Murray, who is the executive coach on the program, is to really have a look at things like, what does transition actually look like? What are things that can help us to be successful as we make these transitions? And even for those of us who still have jobs, it's important to think ahead, to think, what does my career actually look like? Am I really thinking about my career, or am I thinking about my job? Because those are two very different questions. And so as part of Lean in Network's mission and vision, as you can see, I'm just going to pop it up here on the screen. So here we go. Hopefully everyone can see it. Can I have a thumbs up from my fellow panelists? There you go. We're about empowering women in energy and those interested in energy, because you may be someone who wants to get into the energy industry because of the energy transition, to achieve their ambitions through things like mentoring, community, public awareness, and education. And our vision is a world with gender parity. And that's really important, because despite all the years of all the work that's been done, we know that there isn't gender parity. So we're really working hard at Lean in Network Energy with a new leadership team, a new strategy, really looking at what works. And that's why we've invited Rita here today. So we are an official Lean in affiliate. We're an approved network with global reach. So we really do attempt to work across the globe, which is really valuable. We're also a non-profit, and we have a certified board of directors. So we really are a formalized organization. And so we're very committed to what we want to do. We're also 100% volunteer organization. And that's important to remember, because what you see are a lot of women who are working for the cause of women in energy. And we conduct different things, as we're doing today: coffee conversations, fireside chats, mentoring, developing strategic relationships and opportunities. So what I want to let you have an understanding of is there are many ways of contacting us. And if I can move ourselves forward, that would be really useful. I am just finding that a little bit difficult. There you go. Don't you love technology, ladies? Anyway, so our website, as you can see there, is .org. So please remember that. We have pages on Lean in Org's website as well. If you want to become a Lean in Network Energy member, there's the details there. Or you can contact us directly via president@leaninenergy.org. For my sins, you'll contact me and I can direct you to the right person or to the right group within our organisation. Also follow us on social media, and we're available on all forms of social media. Having said that, I'd really like to welcome Rita now to the stage to talk to us about really, really important things about how women can conduct their careers. So I will stop sharing and hand over to you, Rita. So welcome.
Thank you, Denise. And as you can see, those of you tuning in, we are Women in Energy, excited to share some tidbits with you, some real jewels of information. And I'm going to start here with helping you better understand my relationship to the university, because it's a long-standing one. I love that Lean In and OU share this common denominator of women in energy. And as of this last year, OU has even expanded their master's now in energy to include renewables, which for me is very exciting. And so what we're going to talk about today is just kind of sitting around, and I like to think of it as Denise and we've talked about in preparation, that this is like a fireside chat, okay? We are all in our own domains, responsible for what we know, responsible for where we've been. Some of us have more runway behind us than ahead, others ahead than behind. We're all in different stages. But we share this notion that women struggle with and also have opportunities because of our roles in energy. I like to always start by saying I'm a pilot, and I'm a Boston pilot. So get ready, buckle your seatbelts. I get really excited talking about career, specifically the energy around career, and that I started my whole aviation journey at the University of Oklahoma years ago. I'll be dropping in tidbits of my own career story because I come to you as a scholar with my PhD from OU, but also as a former CEO of an energy company. And this gives me insights that I want to share, insights for living, both personally and professionally. So before we get started, you will be receiving a link to this so that you could maybe go back and get some deep, insightful reflection about some pivot points that I'll be talking about. Questions and answers we'll address at the end, but we're really interested to know what concerns you, what advice you might have as you could lean in and share your experiences. This is a camaraderie of women, a cohort of us who really want to help advance the careers of women in energy. So please chat along. And just to see how well you do with chat, would you tell us right now, where are you calling in from? We're monitoring the chat. And what I'm going to do is just go through about a 20-25 minute presentation of several topics. So please get a journal out, use your computer, but start taking note of ways that you add value to this conversation, because that's why we're here. It's a chat. I know that today people have all sorts of Zoom fatigue. All you have to do is Google Zoom, and fatigue and all types of mental challenges come up along with being on. And I love it. I've never met a camera lens I didn't, but there are many people that are like, shut me off, tune me out. I don't want to do this. And we'll talk about some of that. It's really important. So maybe you're not with us right now, but you're going to pick this up later. I understand that. Share the link when you get it. Tell people about Lean In. Tell people about MBA opportunities. But we like to know, and we'll talk about that when we get to the Q&A. Mary's helping us monitor that. So just wanted to get you in the mode of chat, at least using it. Okay, Denise mentioned this. We're in this post-pandemic, hopefully, mode now, and still challenged women, especially women with children and younger women with children, many of whom really just started their careers in this pandemic space and had to become homeschool teachers, supporting their spouses, let's say, or significant others, partners in this relationship of what do we do now? So yes, we get that. And from an emotional intelligence standpoint, a tool I love to use, we can be all over the board. I find today that I'm coaching so many senior leaders, men and women, on emotional reasoning. Emotional reasoning doesn't work in our world. We have to separate emotions from reasoning, but how do we do that when we live in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous time? And we're all trying to figure out this career journey. And so what we want to do today, this is our goal, the effort that we are putting into it, is to help you see that you're not alone, that we all have different places, and it's a climb. Hopefully that's what you want. It's a climb. Maybe for some of you, it's lateral, but mostly I find women in energy want to keep moving up. We want to have a voice. We want to have a seat, some power around and authority around what we do, how we help, because we know that we've been given certain gifts and talents and tools that help us be better leaders today. So what we'll do, my main objectives today are to talk about, hit on 5 basic things. What is this career journey and where are you in this career journey? How do mentors and sponsors help us along? And how do we ask them, or what's that all about? Because that can be so mysterious, unnecessarily mysterious. Then we'll look at what I believe is right now a defining moment for women in energy. And that is upping our talent when it comes to digital intelligence, digital literacy, and understanding really how important business intelligence is. Then we'll talk about all of the opportunities today for transition. I think being fearless, being courageous, being assertive about the opportunities is important, but also understanding what may be roadblocks that we together can help navigate with each other. There's such an abundance of associations now and spaces to have conversations in ways that we know we can do this virtually. We've learned a lot. We've come a long way. And then finally, what everyone's trying to do is, how do I brand myself without sounding arrogant, braggadocious, full of myself? My generation was told, don't talk about yourself, that's embarrassing. So how do you broadcast a message of your, if you will, value? What is your value proposition? And that's what we're going to talk about in branding. So with those 5, I sort of see them as interdependent, circular. They can happen at various times. You can be entering with a new mentor, or you could be coming into some new digital intelligence, branding yourself. The beauty of working with the MBA candidates that I've been working with now for almost a decade is helping them understand where they are on the journey, the big why. Why now? Why an MBA? Why now? And I think that's the question we all ask ourselves, because leaders are learners. So how do we invest ourselves alongside our careers in continuous learning? It is probably one of the greatest gifts you'll give yourself, is continued investment in credentials, in seeing the end-to-end, especially of energy services and businesses that are going on right now. So I see us going in and out, weaving in and out, and we are talking today a lot about oil and gas, but I'm going to even expand it out more to the renewable sector and other places in energy. So I want to help you fortify your pipeline. We've talked about in years past, in my generation, you had a pipeline of business, and it was sort of your contracts or your opportunities. But today it's about your career, and you have options to fortify your pipeline based on your baseline. Who are you and where have you been? And we'll talk a little bit about that. So again, this circle of topics that we'll address hit on those things, why they play in at certain times, how important they are. What do you call them? How should you be intentional at certain points in your career right now, post-pandemic? Those of you who are candidates in programs, MBA, you're asking yourself, what now? What's next? I have this credential. And so what we do know the pandemic brought about is gold. We know that in a hybrid work environment, which I see, I think for the future, and I think it's great, hybrid. It's especially advantageous, I believe, to women and women in energy. But understanding how to navigate this and being a member of a high-performing virtual team or leading one, all different elements of that are urgent today and needed. So imagine then what comes along with that is this digital intelligence and an appreciation of it, and really a love of it, understanding that if this hybrid is forever and is a good thing, then we need to learn those. So my heart for many years, even before all of this, was an understanding that in order to be a great leader, what makes a great leader is that they build more effective relationships and they become more self-aware. Well, this happens in stages, right? Because we come into work in our 20s. I love that women, I almost see us in decades, our 30s, our 40s, our 50s, 60s, and beyond. And what does that mean? And how does that look? So much of my approach is based on work by Edgar Schein. I don't know how many of you know Edgar Schein. He wrote the book Humble Inquiry. And I love that now his son Peter has joined him. Edgar, at age 93, is still doing talks, and you could Google him and find lots of information. But the essence and the foundation of his work is that we need to be more curious about one another. We need to be more curious about the cultures in which we align ourselves with and choose to work in. And to do that, we have to ask really good questions. And I think we've become, many of us, more of a type of person that likes to tell rather than ask. And so the whole idea of coaching is helping people better ask rather than just tell. And so what you'll find out and discover from the work I do is that a lot of it is self-discovery. So what am I hardwired for? I happen to love the Myers-Briggs type indicator. I cut my teeth on it at GE Aerospace, Lockheed Martin, through all military organizations. I had top secret clearances. They all valued it, got to work in many of the war colleges using this, still do to this day. Some very large defense contractors, energy services, wind constructors. It's an ability to be aware of your personality traits and tendencies and profile. And I think it's very helpful. So as you identify your career journey, as you think about it, as you begin to wonder about the cycle, what I have done in my work with aspiring leaders, let's say, because I see us all. I mean, there's a leader in all of us, whether we're turn around and we're leading someone or we're leading a project or an important part of the organization. The idea is know where you are. You know, when you walk into the mall and you see you are here and you see around you. So where are you now? And then figuring out, where have you been? What are the tools, talents, tasks, technology that's gotten you there? And where do you want to go? I think that when I work with emerging leaders, their needs are very different than the mid-level, let's say women who are looking for director positions a way up, versus then the senior level who want the C-suite, want to have a voice, a seat at the table, strategic direction and energy. So a way to help do this and identifying your cycle is right now, you're post-pandemic, and maybe you're saying to yourself, what do I do next? Maybe you're in the middle of the MBA, maybe your company is reorganizing. What I try to help people understand is maybe the better question is, where am I headed? Is what I'm thinking about from a career standpoint in line with my vision, with what I know about myself? Because what we know is when crisis hits, when challenges come upon us, the first thing we think is, what should I do next? Who should I call? And if there's that urgency that can make us feel weak, sound weak, lose the courage and assertiveness that maybe we normally have or we're trying to tune in to get. That's another big part of gaining education. And any of you know, you can go on LinkedIn Learning now and type in any series of words, and there are literally millions of courses. And some of you work for organizations that provide free access to LinkedIn Learning. You can get certificates, you can get information. Again, leaders are learners, and I can't emphasize that enough. I eat, breathe, sleep, drink, live, love learning. I'm buying books all the time. My husband will see something else come from Amazon at the door, and he'll say, this is just another book on whatever. I said, I know, because I love culture. I love people, organizational development, now post-pandemic, because it's where I'm headed. And so knowing that for yourself in the context of business, of energy business, I knew from a young age I wanted to be in business. I love the idea of having a career in business. I don't have children. And what I know about women in energy is that there is a definite struggle and challenge in balancing one's life, but nothing is impossible. And so my love and part of this talk is helping you get your bearings, your career anchor, because with deep, insightful reflection, and by the way, this doesn't have to take long, but you can rediscover or enhance your current understanding of what I like to call your career anchors. So let's talk a bit about the three elements of that. I see it as your own self-perceived talents and abilities. I mean, we kind of know ourselves, right? More importantly, the people around us or our manager. If we get curious, remember back to humble inquiry, and we ask people to tell us, give me some feedback. What do you see as what turns me on, what excites me, because sometimes we can be beside ourselves in that manner, but knowing what our own self-perceived abilities are, talents are, and then what are our values? See, that's real important to know what's important to you in life. What are your values? And they can center around family, life, spiritual, but what is it that's important? And then finally, what motivates you? And what do you need? Because sometimes where we are in our career is just based on what we need to survive, right? It's just being aware, being self-aware of all those things. So back to a bit on Edgar Schein. And by the way, I follow a lot of different work that falls out under the umbrella of organizational development, culture, and self-awareness. But just briefly, I find this fascinating. And for this, I need my glasses myself. So the first one, these are anchors. So think about yourself right now in the middle of this pandemic. You're thinking about a transition. Do you like challenges because you feel that you're an expert, you have a specialty, right? Functionally, often technical people really like to stay in their lane. I find that others may have always wanted to be a manager. I want to help others. I want to coach others. I want to bring them up. I have a competence to lead broadly. And that's what I want to do. And I don't have to have, a particular technical competence. So in number one, I think of engineers. And number two, I think of people who beyond engineering say, wow, I want to functionally lead. I want to do more. I want to help people. Then be aware, especially those of you who are tuning in at a younger age, do you seek independence and autonomy? Like, do you want to do your own thing? Know that in a virtual environment where high performance teams are important, that can get in your way. Because that means I don't want to work with you. I want to do it by myself. And there are many things in the energy industry that can be done from a technical advisory standpoint, from a development standpoint. Maybe you like a job that's stable and secure. So maybe in energy, this for you is, I want to get in with Devon or Chesapeake or whoever, any company that you're thinking about. And I'm thinking local in this Oklahoma area. You just want a job. You want security. You want a role. You want fulfilling. That's okay. But maybe, and I get a lot of these in the MBA program, sometimes the reason they enter is they have a decade behind them and now they have a startup in mind. Well, anyone who's had a startup, and my husband and I started up what turned into a national energy company. There are a lot of elements to that, but guess what? Some people are gifted with an entrepreneurial mindset. It helps them get there. They're creative. Maybe your anchor has always been that there's a cause you want to serve. There's something you want to do to better the world, to better a certain part of the energy industry, to help with environmental issues, et cetera. But there's a cause, and that's important to you. Maybe you're like scratch you and you're a scientist and you just like challenge. You just want to do something that's impossible. You're an Elon Musk out there. You're a combination of autonomy, independence, pure challenge. Fascinating, know it. However, now in light of pandemic, what we know is a lot of people are moving into what we call lifestyle career anchors. I just want to survive the rest of my life healthy. I want good work-life balance. My personal life matters, the way I raise my children, that I don't take that move. I'm not going to go, I'll take a demotion because this is important to my family, to my life. So those are those anchors, and the journey continues, right? So I like to say, though, that as a part of this, where are you in your journey, is when you were born, definitely makes a difference. Now, why do I say that? Because right now we have 5 generations in the workforce, and those 5 generations couldn't be more different. I do workshops for organizations just on this element, because where personality or values or emotional intelligence don't seem to be the issue, it can simply be that the backdrop against which we were raised, our worldview, our work ethic idea, has really in some ways helped us, but in other ways hurt us in understanding how to work better together, especially on those virtual work teams that have all the generations together. So it's really important to understand, and this is where digital intelligence plays in, that we've never seen such early adoption and fast adoption and acceleration as when the iPhone was introduced and really began to take over this idea that everyone wants information on demand now. So this whole new age learning style is about fast, speedy, get it done, let's get on with it. And this creates um, some real behavioral issues at times. It's like we're a train wreck waiting to happen, right? Everything has to be fast. I need my career now. I've got to get this MBA. I need the promotion. I need this. And what we're missing is the fact that we're in control of our emotions. We can pull the brake on that and say, how do I get help? And to me, this is where seeking mentors and sponsors comes in. That idea that I can't do this alone. Really, no one, in my opinion, does it alone. We're designed for connection. We need each other. And I love this lean in energy because this is about a movement of how do we lean into one another. Cheryl says we need to stop telling women, hey, get a mentor and you'll excel. Instead, we need to tell them excel and you'll get a mentor. I've had the great privilege and opportunity of creating mentoring programs for energy companies, oil and gas companies, from up to 10 years ago, where it was the traditional, very formal matching. I love to be a matchmaker, looking at senior leaders, kind of the typical mode, and helping match them with others. But today, mentoring takes on all new shapes and forms, and it can be fast track mentoring, bursts of mentoring, maybe just a quick, just in time mentoring, or it can be a longer relationship. We're going to start to tease out the difference in a moment between a mentor and a sponsor, but a mentor is someone who's on a track that you are, who maybe has lifestyle similarities, and you're gaining wisdom in the relationship. You're learning about it. So it doesn't need to be someone in the company, although when companies establish mentoring programs and can help match, that can be valuable. For me, my early mentorship was a gentleman a decade younger than I. We were both in the organizational development sphere and met through an outside organization. And here we are now, almost 30 years later, still in partnership. He has his company back east, Otto Krager Associates. This is Heil Rutledge. And to this day, he's my mentor and at times my coach. And we flip roles and I become his. So allyship with men in mentoring is really important also. And I know Denise is big on this. Hey, invite men into this too, helping men understand. Brad Johnson, who's done a lot of work through the years, maybe you've read his book, Athena Rising, has written lots of books on mentoring, a Naval Academy faculty member, and now teaming with several authors and continually helping men understand how to be allies in a mentorship and also, more importantly, in a sponsorship, which we'll talk about in a minute. I was real excited to see one of our graduates, Kathy Lebsack. She's with Devon Energy, and her story, if you could hear it one day, there's several really good articles of her out there. But Kathy was caught in the middle of some of the major oil and gas layoffs and was immediately, within a day, promoted into a vice president role. She had graduated from the MBA program. She's on the younger side, 30-ish, and all of a sudden she finds herself in a complete position of power. And immediately her heart, her motives went to how do we create and how do we cultivate and continue to inspire mentoring circles. And with Kathy's efforts and a lot of other people in associations, and even our program with OU, it was this idea that they sent out invitation to join the mentoring circles and to take it, be intentional about it, show up, participate, contribute, but it was based on inquiry, asking questions. But they started it with homework every week. So they would send in articles, links to articles, things we're going to talk about. Let's talk about our personal and professional lives. And I've just been so proud of the work that so many people have done in the area of mentoring circles, companies I work with that continue this idea of mentor matches, kind of the speed dating, setting people up in rooms where leaders and people aspiring into leadership can come and meet. But let's switch over to sponsor. I get lots of questions today about how do I get a mentor? And when I'm working with and I can see in someone their leadership potential, I really say to them, it's not a mentor at this point. You're seeking a sponsor in your company, someone who will showcase your talents, who will speak for you behind the scenes, who when the board is meeting to look at a succession plan mentions your name. That's a sponsor. So everyone asks, well, how do I get one? And that's the more challenging thing because you don't really choose a sponsor, they choose you. And the reason they choose you is because you stand out. And they're noticing, boy, this person can really add value because they already see your value. And that can happen very early on. So I put a picture here of me early on, and this woman, Kathy Kavanaugh at the time, then became Meltzer, was a vice president at Entree Computers. And she saw in me something. I was all in. By the way, I've always been kind of all in. I love work to a fault. At one time, I called my work ethic my worth ethic. Well, I got over that once I began to better understand myself and my needs. But what she did was nominate me to so many things. And she took me along on business trips with her. So I just got to watch her. And then she began to kind of groom me deliberately and intentionally and told me about it. So this was in my 20s, early 30s, this grooming, this setting me up, this paying attention to my executive presence. And I've watched this happen and encourage people to do this across domains, across ages, culture, personalities, understanding each other, to seek the gold in each other, to know when a sponsor is someone who can make you better, who can pull you up, allow you to have these stretch assignments, challenge you. Several of your companies I know of literally seek out high potential players, high mobility players, that in women especially, and honestly, so many of the intentional programs I'm aware of are for women sponsorships. It's been fascinating. Now, another person who found me that I love, or I guess it was a little bit of a finding each other, Otto Krager, who is considered kind of the father of the Myers-Briggs type indicator, and back to the roots of just behavioral interests in people, sought me out, and I was able to actually work in, back then, even a gig economy, where I was working for GE Aerospace, Lockheed, Martin Marietta in top secret work, while using all my vacation time to start learning more about personality and investing and educating myself, having a sponsor who allowed me to stay at his home with he and his wife, who helped to groom me, who gave me stretch opportunities. We got to go down and work together at Southwest Airlines, the war colleges, because he saw in me something that he felt was giving effort to the cause and really passionate about it. Another ally happens to be a man, my husband, who I think I agree with Sheryl Sandberg. It's not I think, I do. If you will marry and you are married or you want to be married, I think it's the greatest decision you make is that that person supports you in everything you do. And we started a company, PCG Worldwide. If you look at my LinkedIn, just as I could look at yours, it tells our story. But John Borling, the person you see on the left, my husband on the right, as I'm looking at the picture, he was a 6.5-year POW, high military, White House fellow. John has opened many doors for me. Why did I ask? No, he saw the effort, saw the work, paved the way, as did my husband, an Air Force Academy graduate. Both he and John were fellows. And so the opportunities I think that we as women have is to showcase our value propositions in a quiet way. This isn't like I have to be braggadocious and telling you all the time, it's doing it. I've heard of people calling others can-do people. And I like to say, I see will-do people, because they do it. And that led this organization work in energy led to volunteering for me to facilitate and lead boards and see opportunities as they were grooming me to then lead a board. I became a board chairman of multiple energy subsidiaries, but I groomed on a volunteer basis. And some of you, I know your companies sit on boards. I'm coaching many of the candidates I work with, ask who the boards are and might you sit in or actually run for a seat on a board or be selected? And don't be diminished by some of the roles like secretary. Probably my greatest learning of Robert's rules and committee work and governance was learning to be a secretary on a board. And so I encourage you to volunteer, be aware of things, but do your homework. Don't expect it to come to you. Research, dig in, find out what's your company doing in a sustainability mode to add to, if you will, environmental issues, company, community issues. It's really exciting. Third area, heart, my love, is digital intelligence. I cut my teeth in the technology space. I've never had my hands off it since I graduated from school. And at the time I graduated, there was one basic computer course required for a business management degree. Computers weren't really the thing then, but they quickly became, and I got on that wave of it. So developing digital intelligence, data literacy, digital dexterity, digital fluency, all these things you hear. Do you adopt new technology quickly? This is something for my fellow boomers, if you will. It's important that we understand why developing this data intelligence is important, because everything is about digital transformation. I believe it's why today Millennial and Gen Z, and I've done a lot of research to back this up, so this is kind of fact-based. I use the word kind of again, it is fact-based. My scholarly background has taught me to search for the facts and what we know. And that's why in our program, business intelligence at the MBA program is a very important part of it, is when you have a hunger for data and understand how to read and map data, it does transform the organization and it can transform you. It's why STEM is so important. It's why as a pilot, I encourage young women to look at the field of aviation. It can be scary if this is fairly new to you, understanding this whole BI, when people talk about BI. And so many of the women I coach at senior levels, now I'm talking about even C-suite levels, what prevents them often from getting there quickly is a lack of financial intelligence. Their financial literacy and analysis is, they just haven't had the exposure. And this is where I've been helping women to ask earlier, be bold and ask, where am I in the career succession plan? And how may I begin to see the budget earlier? I need to know what goes into that. Because as you can see, this is fraught with barriers if you're not open to asking the right questions. Back to humble inquiry. I cut my teeth in understanding with renewables how we were managing wind farms at a difference through all these SCADA systems and being able to control at a distance. Well, now that's familiar to everyone, drone management, control management, but loving it or even liking it is a different thing. Being curious about it, wanting it. That's why I think early now we're teaching young women to see that science, technology, engineering, math are not to be feared. There's something to be learned. And I had a real barrier to it, but I learned it. And so accessing your community to know who are people that may be able to mentor, coach, sponsor you. I'd say sponsor if you already have that intelligence, but mentor and coach if you're looking at things that you're trying to figure out this digital intelligence. I'm a big believer in LinkedIn. It's one of the facets of what I do in helping women in energy and men in energy, people in renewables. I also am the aerospace and defense career coach, and all of it to me has energy in common, the momentum to move forward, to be a leader, to show up, and leaders are learners. And so another part of learning is creating a community. I tell people, don't wait till that point where your company reorganizes and now you're out of work and you have 50 connections on LinkedIn. Build your community. And this isn't to be braggadocious or arrogant, but it's to showcase your value proposition. What do you offer? What results can you gain? Another part of digital intelligence is your Zoom presence. It's really fun for me to work with developing people in their Zoom presence because it's a part of executive presence. And I say, okay, so you jump on and you see, just like you see this nice background, here's a gentleman, maybe coaching, talking, maybe it's her manager. And so here's a woman, I love this picture, and you may have seen this. So this is a woman who works for, I think it's CBS or one of the channels. And so she immediately got a developing story. She's at home, she's on Zoom, but this is so funny. Look at the room. I mean, this is where she's broadcasting from. And so while I can say, wouldn't it be nice to set up your own home office, your Zoom office? Yes. And I've done that. So right now I'm standing. So I have a standing and a sitting where I can sit and chat in a coaching engagement. But when I'm making a presentation, it just frees me up to stand. I don't know about you, maybe even meeting, it frees you up to stand. But I just think this is so precious to see that we all just have to pull strings, just kind of dig in, be intentional, and make it happen, despite what may be going on around us. I think this is the essence of woman, of what we will do to kind of clear the road, pave the way. And this is the effort that needs to be seen more assertively, more courageously, that we understand that. Now, another part, as we're running, I'm very conscious of time. Please be aware that in digital world, you may not even realize that a robot is giving you your next interview. Some may be aware that we have now WePow, SparkView, HireView. Those are several of the companies I work with where now their first level interview is actually not a person. And what they're doing to be aware of is tracking you. Now, just Google this, and there's a whole world of information on how to prepare for this type of an interview. When I do individual coaching with the MBA candidates, some choose to just say, hey, let's just practice this because I just got an invitation from WePow. And that's one that Energy Services seems to be using now as a setup for that first facial interview. I could tell you a whole lot more about the legal part of this. It's totally legitimate, and I've come to love it. This is the big one I think that people are waiting for. So now, Rita, talk to us. Transitions, right? New role, new project, new company, new industry. I hope you see that I've already been building on what it takes to get here. And that is that you know where you are on your journey. You understand yourself in the respect that you will get in a lane or on a project or a team that aligns with your values. I mean, that's really important to showcase who you are, because this idea that transitions are happening everywhere is true. And you have a lot of choice in the matter, intentional choice. And I like to always say to people, I'm doing a lot of work with William Bridges now. And again, another author I love, Transitions. This is a book that came out in the 80s. And everyone now seems to be, I see, sort of coloring over some of the work that was laid years ago, back when computers, I came into this space around the 80s, right? When the computer revolution was exploding. So it was a lot of change. But change, when we think about change, that's the occurrence of situations, right, that impact organizations and individuals. But transition is that internal psychological process, what many of you are dealing with right now coming out of this post-pandemic. And I think what happens is we don't spend enough time understanding how, when we think about a change to our role, to our company, to our discipline, whatever it may be, we have to be kind to ourselves, because the psychological transition not only can hurt, but it can be very costly. So as you think about taking on any new role, transitioning to any new responsibilities, looking and seeking a promotion, know that your mentors are there to ask questions of. Know, if you have a sponsor, how they can address the issues you have. So you have to be very clear about your career goals and alignment. So often, again, when I work with a client and they're saying, oh, this position is for me. And I just talked to one yesterday. And I said, well, show me the description. And what he did, in fact, was pull 3 descriptions and was applying online to all 3. And I said, you do know how applicant tracking systems work, right? That they're looking for alignment. And when you apply to too many positions in one company, it shows that you really haven't anchored yourself. You really maybe don't have your career goals. Talked to recently a woman in our program who's done an excellent job of vetting herself, of knowing her lane, of looking at a decision she needed to make in a company she wanted to transition to, but location became her barrier. And she said to herself, do I just go? And I loved that at her age, even millennial age, younger millennial, that she said, I've got to take in a lot of things into consideration, what my goals are, where I want to be, not just what do I need right now, what do I do next? Is this a good match right now? This is my, she said, my kind of Lexus company. This is the one I wanted to work for. But maybe right now, the opportunity that was offered, it isn't right. And being very intentional about that is so smart and so deliberate. And understanding that when you do apply, don't be all over the board, because these applicant systems, and when we set up resumes or talk about that, that's important. And I have some ideas for you if you want to chat in, link in with me, of people that can really help you fine tune on this applicant process. Finally, create and live your brand. Again, I hope I've set the stage already for the journey, the anchors, the mentors, the digital intelligence. Know yourself, take time, be intentionally self-reflective, then go and talk to someone, get involved with Lean In Energy. There are so many people that want to help make you successful. We stand on the shoulder of giants when we've made it. And so this idea that what is brand? I say that brand is what you say about yourself and what you tell us about your results. See, this is where people often miss the boat. They say what they do, but they don't say what they accomplished. And so knowing what your results are and then realizing that your reputation is what others say about you. I always like to say it isn't always who you know, it's who knows you. And then where do you find alignment in this? Because all of these topics have been leading to, is what I'm doing in line with the professional that I want to become? And so no matter what you do, your job is, you've got to tell your story. Because the only reason is you're the CEO. You're the CEO of Me Incorporated. No better person to tell your story than you. And right now, we're living at a time when just paying attention to anything, just like the fact that, oh, another Zoom meeting, another, Zoom webinar, it looks interesting, but do I have time? At a time when I hope that even maybe just what I've said today gives you more confidence, get on LinkedIn and update it. Tell us assertively who you are. Think about the phases that are interdependent here that go in and out on this journey, and understand that it is a journey. And this idea that these objectives I've just covered, hopefully you think of your career in phases, wherever you are in life. This is a part of understanding the phase you're in. So we're really excited now to turn over to some questions, and I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to Mary. I bought into your time a little bit, Mary.
That's quite all right. And we want to have time for Molly a little bit at the end to talk to us more specifically about the MBA and energy. But we have a couple of questions here, so let's get into them. I see our first question is, what if you're genuinely interested in a couple of different fields? So this particular person is interested in marketing and HR. Do I have to choose?
Great question. And Denise, a question, is this to me specifically? I don't want. Okay.
Yes, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, I think that anchors are important. So whatever it is that you offer HR or that you offer marketing, really understand. Now, marketing tends to be highly aligned with business development, as though quickly your efforts need to produce some bottom line to the shareholders, the stakeholders. If it's nonprofit, it's visually appealing, it's a message, it's communicating. HR, on the other hand, is a totally different field. But if your talent is communicating and you want to communicate a new strategy for people organization, for using your base talents in either industry, just know it well. If it's a different company for both, understand the culture of each company, weigh that in. That will be really important as to how your talents are utilized. I spent all of my career in different industries, but my base talent was the same. It was about connecting others, developing leaders, but it was in aerospace, it was in education. I worked in OU. In fact, I took a cut and pay, almost half, leaving Lockheed Martin to come to the university. I left DC and Boston area to come to Oklahoma because it was worth it. I weighed the benefits and leaving, but it took all the talents, the same talents I had there, and applied them to an educational opportunity. So I think this is where you might want to get a coach who will sit and talk to you, or a friend that can help you navigate this and know where you'll be best. This is where research comes in. Do your research well on this. Those are two very, very different disciplines. I agree with you. And yet your talents could be beautifully applied to each.
Okay, terrific. So this is another one that we can move on to really quickly that I find very interesting. This person says, I struggle with people knowing me for my brand in current roles, not what I want to be doing. What suggestions do you have for her, Rita, about how she might better, position herself?
So stories are important, narratives. I am where I am right now, and here's what I love best. I like to tell people sometimes just do a day in the life of Molly, right? So what does Molly do? What's her best day look like? How do I brand that? How do I make it exciting? I think words matter more than ever now, and how we can convey that message. And if I'm hearing your question, I want to make sure I'm hearing it right. Is Mary, what she was saying, I guess, is in that role, it's not where I want to be, but it's where I am right now. For me, it's results. What results are you getting? Who are you helping? How are you helping? Sometimes asking for a recommendation through LinkedIn. Again, I'm a pretty big advocate of LinkedIn, by the way. I don't consider it social media. I consider it a resume on steroids, right? In a new way, where I'm trying to promote my value proposition. So what is it right now for you? I think anytime we can take things and put a value on it for the employer, for someone that I may want to work for sometime, if we don't have a value, then we can't transition or promote. But in a job that you're in, seek ways to take on stretch assignments, volunteer. When someone says, will anyone do this? Say yes, I'll do it. To the degree, I mean, be smart.
Great. Well, those are great responses. Thank you very much, Rita. How about if we go on to Molly? Everybody keep putting, please, your questions into chat, because I should say that at the end, I'm going to compile chat and we can tell who's asking, and we'll make sure we get some very specific information back to you. So please keep filling the chat. Molly, let's go on to you. Molly is our lead recruiter for the Executive MBA in Energy at the University of Oklahoma. And she just has a couple of slides for us today to talk about the value proposition of this very unique degree. Molly?
Yeah, thanks, Mary. Absolutely. So hope everyone can see my screen here. We have a couple slides to go through. So just wanted to talk about, why you would get this degree, what the benefits of this degree are, and in a broad sense, what we have to offer and how it can help your career to kind of carry over from Rita's talk. So first off, the degree is highly specialized and it's 100% focused on energy. The University of Oklahoma has been teaching energy education for over 100 years. And so there aren't a lot of other programs like ours. The EMBA program, has some of the best faculty, great experienced leaders, and we have the history and prestige in the energy industry to really back up this program. In terms of our faculty, we have more than a dozen corporate executives with experience in energy. We have people who teach the residency weeks with, a wealth of experience, leaders in the industry. We have professors who have worked for, the Department of Energy in Oklahoma. We have people coming to us from some of the largest energy companies in the industry. So you're really going to learn from the leaders. We also include a really unique global perspective in our program. So we have a 1-week residency about halfway through the program that takes place in Europe so that you can get some exposure to understanding the energy industry from a global perspective. So you'll take courses, participate in site visits, hear guest lectures from senior energy executives. And, we go either to London or Amsterdam. It kind of depends year to year, but you're going to get, a really great energy centric location with global influence, and you'll travel alongside your classmates and professors to see the industry outside the United States. Furthermore, we have a dynamic curriculum that's been continuously updated to reflect changes in the marketplace and in the energy industry. So, when we founded the program, it was primarily looking at the oil and gas sector, but it's being completely revamped and relaunched. And we have a renewable energy track now inside the program to reflect, obviously, changes in the energy industry and the ongoing transition. So you'll be learning timely and relevant information that you can apply directly to the industry and the marketplace to keep you current in your career in terms of knowledge and skills. And then with regard to the specialization that I just mentioned, to touch on that a little bit, our students select a specialization either in hydrocarbons or renewables as part of their completion of the degree program. So it's 36 credit hours with 28 credits in core business and energy classes, looking at both sectors of the industry. But then you'll also complete 8 credits of specialized courses in either hydrocarbons or renewables to give you really specialized knowledge in that sector. And this is also great for students if they're coming to us from a hydrocarbons background. If you're interested in transitioning over to renewables. This will give you, the knowledge and skills to make that transition while you stay in energy, but do something a little bit different. Next, our industry connections and partners. I mentioned our, excellent faculty that we have, but you're also going to be networking with the other students in the program. So our students are all coming to us from energy backgrounds, typically mid-level professionals to senior level leaders in energy, with an average of about 15 years of work experience in energy. So you're going to be networking with some great people from across the industry. Our students come to us from across the country. We have students with international backgrounds and experience as well. So you're going to be networking with some of the best leaders in the energy industry who are going to be your classmates. And to kind of wrap up my portion, we'll talk a little bit about the benefits here. So, there's great growth potential by doing a program, by completing our program. Like I mentioned, we have over 100 years of experience teaching energy education here at OU, and the rapidly growing energy industry is going to be a great pair for this education. So we all know that energy continues to evolve and to grow, and the renewable energy market is just expanding like crazy. So you'll have the experience to step into a really growing and dynamic industry to launch your career into an exciting path. I mentioned previously, the network that you're going to develop as a result of this program is going to be fantastic. The energy professionals that you meet, classmates, instructors, as well as all of our alumni that have graduated from this program. We hold regular alumni events. We just held one in Houston a couple months ago. So you're going to get the opportunity also to tap into the network of all of the alumni that have graduated from this program. And, we have alumni who are working at some of the largest energy companies in the world. So you're going to be able to access those types of professionals and learn from them, maybe move over into those types of companies if you know people inside, and that's a huge benefit as well. The program also has, lifelong value. It doesn't stop when you graduate with us. Holding an MBA is going to help your career for the rest of your career and your life, especially an executive MBA that's completely specialized to the industry that you're in. So you're going to be able to continue growing far after you graduate with us. And our pricing for the tuition as well is really going to give you a great ROI, and it's all inclusive and including those residencies that I mentioned as well. And then finally, you'll get access to a fantastic career coach named Rita Murray, who you heard from today. So you'll be able to work with her and you'll be able to, learn new skills, knowledge in order to launch your career. And as we all know from listening to Rita this morning, she has extensive energy experience and has been advising and coaching energy executives for quite some time. So you're going to be able to work with one of the best coaches in the industry. And, that's only in our program. So that's also a very unique benefit. And so we're just I'll turn it back over, and, thanks so much for listening to a little bit of details on the program.
Okay, well, we've only got a couple of minutes and we're going to sign off. What I'd like to say is a huge thank you to Rita and to the team, Mary and Molly, for really supporting Lean in Energy by helping us to bring to women not only important information, but things that are really going to, for them to think about, and that will help to make, whether it's an energy a transition or a career choice, or just thinking about what will make them successful, because it is tough. And we're looking at, like we're looking at the book Gaslighted, and understand that oil and gas and energy generally isn't always an easy place to live. And so if you're going to make that choice, do it with the strength of not only knowing yourself, but bringing to bear all those things that can really make you valuable and successful. What I'd like to also say is that the pandemic also impacted older women very particularly, not just younger women. And so there may be women who are older that you know, who may not have attended this. You might like to recommend that they think about it, because one of the things that I found in the last couple of years is that by being intentional, and that word is really pivotal, I think, to a lot of the messages that we are hearing about successful women, is that if we are intentional, then we are better able to be successful. So I really like to thank everyone. And you've got details of how to contact Lean in Energy, but you've also got details of how to contact Rita and how to contact the university about the program. So thank you for attending. If you want to watch it again, if you want to, look at any of the other things that that have been mentioned, we will be posting it as a recording. So thanks everyone for your time today, and good luck for all that you're trying to do for yourself. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.